Welcome to 5 Strike Weekly, everyone. This week we take a look back at a disappointing home draw against Toronto FC, and we look back at an MLS AllStar game that drew rave reviews from all around the globe. All that and more, coming up.
Welcome to the show, 5 Strike fam. I'm AJ, this is Tanner McLeod. Before we get into it, become part of the notification squad by hitting the bell next to the subscribe button. So guys, let's get into that 2-2 draw against Toronto FC at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. And those boys from up north they tried everything to annoy the hell out of us. And they were largely successful when they came to smash and grab. And, but we also saw Josef Martinez continue his prolific scoring. And, man just cannot stop, and I don't really want him to. What'd you think of the match there?
Thank God Josef Martinez keeps scoring, because otherwise that would have not been a great match, because other people, looking at you, Miguel Almiron, can't score. That being said, Toronto, if you watch the fan cams, you saw I was very, very restrained in my responses. Devin was not restrained. I shared Devin's opinions in many of those ways, and I felt like him on the inside. And it was more because of how Toronto played and how they managed to get something out of it, and less of how Atlanta United played. I wasn't really too upset with the way Atlanta United played. They created a lot of chances. They should have finished more. Obviously, that's my main sticking point. But coming out in a 3-5-2, I really hoped they wouldn't. I wasn't a fan of the 3-5-2. But all things considered, they played really, really well. A lot of that has to go to Eric Remedi, because he did some incredible work off the ball positionally. When Atlanta had the ball, and if it was LGP or if it was Larinowitz or anyone, Remedi was sliding into position, fit like a glove. It looked like he'd been, playing in this system for a year plus. He was so comfortable. He broke up the play. His passing was really good. He was incredible. On the whole, the team moved the ball quicker at times, I thought. They created some more incisive chances than they usually have. Unfortunately, they went up against a team that, for a team that's the holders of the MLS Cup and the Supporters Shield, that has the talent that Toronto has, it's not like Seattle, where they had been... Obviously, Toronto has been poor, but Seattle, they're not exactly great going forward. Toronto has players that can do stuff going forward, and yet they chose to play the most Jose Mourinho on steroids negative football I have ever seen. I would know something about that. I'm a Manchester United fan, and I hate my life when I have to watch that crap. I was watching it from Toronto, but worse. Man United can't even waste time to the degree that Toronto wasted time. I don't think I've seen a keeper waste more time than Toronto's keeper all season, which I guess maybe he earned that by making some really good saves. But as a whole, Toronto was the absolute scummiest, dirtiest team I've seen play in MBS since they've played. And that's counting Orlando, that's counting Seattle, that's counting everyone. No. Toronto. Josie Altidore can piss off. I hate that guy. Not only did you fail to qualify the U.S. to qualify for the World Cup because you suck, he also trolled our fans that were tweeting about how crappy he is. Maybe he found it funny. Fun fact, we were serious. You're terrible. Somehow escapes a yellow card at the end of the match, where he absolutely bulldozed Chris McCann. Sorry. All good. So many McCanns. Anyway, and he calls him words that I'm not going to repeat, but if you go and look at it, he swears and calls him something derogative. I don't know how that wasn't a yellow. He didn't even try to play the ball. He just took him out. What are you doing? And then he puts his hands around Miggy's neck at the end of the game. You have the dickhead that gets sent off for punching, whatever you want to call it, in the LGP in the face. That was the whole game for them. Luckily for them, MLS has no competent officials that can go into Mercedes-Benz Stadium and call a game effectively, and he allowed the whole thing. And on the whole, that was the most frustrating game I have seen by far this season, with the most frustrating result. It beats Dallas. Dallas just pissed me off. It happened. This game pissed me off so much, because this is definitively the one game I can say the other team did not deserve absolutely anything. Toronto deserved nothing. They were shambolic. They were disgraceful. And yet somehow, another 2-2 draw against this team. I hope to God we play them again at home in the playoffs when everyone's playing well, because if people can finish, looking at you again, Miggy, we're going to absolutely drum them. They were an embarrassment, and it pissed me off so much. They are now number 1 on my shit list. I hate them.
That's very...
Sorry for the rant, by the way, but I just kind of got carried away. That's not the first one you'll see in this episode, fun fact.
Yeah, and that's very interesting to hear, because, we played some very, very annoying teams, and I feel like, for me, the most annoying game probably was against Portland Timbers, because we really lacked any sort of creativity with our attack. This one, at least, we were playing well offensively, but we just couldn't put the ball in the back of the net, which is a symptom that we've definitely had at home. I mean, of course, yes. But, let's get into some positives of this match, which, Josef Martinez, he just continues at a pace where I think he's absolutely, almost even running away with MVP at this point. Because, I think to argue otherwise, he's breaking records left and right. I mean, it's tough to argue against Josef Martinez.
He now has the most goals through 45 games. Yeah. Now it's 46 and 45. So, scoring more than a goal a game. Mm-hmm. I think the Canadian tournament is what controlled when he scores 2 goals against Canadian teams. There is nothing this guy can't do right now. His passing's phenomenal. His movement's phenomenal. He got really unlucky that he couldn't finish one. He could have had another hat trick if he took that chance in the first half. Yeah. However, that being said, if you score 7 games in a row and you're 1 goal off the all-time record, for a season, goals in a season, I can't really
10 games left?
With 10 games left. He's got 26. Record's 27. There's 10 games left. Yeah, I think he's going to get that record. And I think there's a good chance he's going to get it at home against a Columbus team in a few weeks. But... his second goal was incredible. The header was just fantastic. Funny thing about that missed chance that I talked about in the first half, that was one of those times where he is standing offside and everyone's like, why does he do that? Because they completely forgot that he was standing there. And Tito makes a run, gets a perfect ball, plays it square. He just gets unlucky. That's why
I feel like he should have maybe taken a touch, but
absolutely.
I'm not going to slate
Again, we
Josef
can't really
Martinez
slate him for that, but it's like, that's that brilliant movement that people don't understand. He just knows where to be. The run for the second goal, when we were watching the highlights again, watching them back, it's like he just leaves those 2 guys. Yep. Just standing there. And then gets a glancing header that nutmegs the keeper, no less. Phenomenal ball by Tito, but the run by Josef is just
he just
incredible.
Goes into space. Yeah, the defenders just forget about where he is, and how do you forget about Josef Martinez in the box? But that's what he's done all season. I think the criticism of he scores tap-ins and penalties and all that type of stuff, I think it's just completely way off base. I think it's something that Tata Martino has talked about where, we would be worrisome if Josef Martinez was dribbling at the defense and just trying to take on the entire team, and then he scores all these goals by himself. But no, we're actually playing through him, and so yes, it actually is effective. I think this way, where the whole team gets involved in the play, and he's just finishing off the move. And I think that's that is a good thing. But there is the other aspect of Miguel Miron needs to finish his 2 chances that were they boil down to sitters.
They're sitters. The first one is special. The second one I can understand. He's making a long run. Yeah. He's dribbling a long time. He's got the keeper coming at him. He's got 2 defenders closing down on him. But
keeper did well.
Yeah, keeper did well. The first one, he has so much space. Yeah. He has all the time to pick his spot.
If he chops or something, something to
if he had a semblance of a right foot.
Possibly. I think, but you can take a little bit of a dribble and maybe round the keeper and then still keep it on your left.
Take a page out of Josef's book. Josef chops the keeper almost every time when he's one-on-one and manages to go around him. Miggy has the talent to do that. Maybe he's just lacking confidence in himself.
It definitely is. Yeah.
It's just a mental thing. Statistically, he's playing better than last season. His assists are up, but that kind of goes back to the Josef part, where the one thing that you can say is that they are playing through him. It's like a basketball. When someone's making everything, you feed the hot hand, and you're confident when you pass that person the ball, they're going to make that shot. Right now, Josef, all his teammates have to know, if they put a good ball into the box, he's probably going to bury it. So if you have a chance to put a cross in and you see him making a run, put it in there. Because most of the time, he figures out a way to get some part of his body on the ball to turn that into a goal. And so that's got to at least fill his teammates with confidence, because they're playing in balls to him and he's putting them away. With Miggy, it's like, I think he just needs to see himself hit the back of the net a couple times. If he can get that one in the right play, and then, he'll get going. And something that I think we'll get on later when it comes in the standing, it's like, this team still hasn't hit its form yet. And it's like, we're waiting. And without being impatient, they didn't hit their form until September of last year. Then they ran out. So it's like, if they can just... There's only 4 home games left, though, so they have to figure it out eventually. And the biggest thing, is they have been struggling at home. But there were so many positives, like you said, about this game. They absolutely took Toronto to pieces at times, creating chances. They moved the ball so much faster. They moved it with an intensity that they've been lacking at home against an opponent that I think they will see again, against an opponent that will be in the playoffs. So there are a positive to take. And again, Eric Remedi, incredible performance.
Absolutely.
I mean, I cannot say enough good things about him. I did not think this was the player Atlanta United were going to be getting positionally, passing wise. I knew he could be decent. I didn't think he was going to fit, glove hand this well. It's been incredible so far.
It's definitely an embarrassment of riches in the middle, especially if Darlington Nagbe can come back healthy sooner than expected, or even as expected, because he should be ready essentially in September. And so that's great for the stretch run. That gives us a lot of options. He can also play, left on the wing as well. So there's some options.
An idea is maybe if you wanted to play a back three and you wanted to put Lorenowitz in the back, maybe because you were at home and you wanted him to step into midfield, you could play Remedi and Nagbe, and then you have three pseudo midfielders in a sense that they're all really comfortable on the ball. And that's one thing about Atlanta is that you have to be comfortable on the ball to play for this team. And that says a lot. I mean, you don't have a lot of teams in Major League Soccer where being comfortable on the ball is a requirement. You have to be able to do it. And, having those guys come back from injury, hopefully you'll see a Greg Garza. You saw on Instagram today, Joseph had a little post. It looks like Greg Garza's getting closer to fitness.
Yeah, but
obviously it's a few months away, but it's
still,
like
MLS playoffs is when
absolutely. But that's moving into September and October, and it's like you have these guys coming back. You have the guys that replace them playing well. So if Atlanta can get healthy, that's the time from they'll be getting healthy. So if maybe they're getting all those guys back and they're figuring things out, that could be the perfect time for them to finally kick on. And we'll all look back on this and be like, well, we were silly to worry anyway. So those are definitely positives that are there from this match. It's just really frustrating when there's 3 matches this season where I think Atlanta United have thrown away points. New England, that was unlucky. The penalty happens. I mean, harsh on Kevin Kratz. It probably was a penalty. It just happens. That's one of those things where you're going to get calls like that go against you during the season on the road. Dallas and Toronto are 2 very, very similar matches where, in my opinion, Atlanta United absolutely threw away the points. And without sounding spoiled or, entitled, I expect United to win those games. And when you're in those positions, if you want to be the best team in the league, you cannot throw those points away. I mean, Dallas, that was 3 points. Toronto, that was 2 points. They deserve to win both those games because for 80-plus minutes, well, actually, against Toronto for 90 minutes, the whole game, they were the better team. Against Dallas, they were the best team for 80, and they just fell apart at the end. Those are 2 games that you cannot throw away. And there's a bit of a worrying trend there of Atlanta United conceding goals at the wrong times of matches, right on halftime or right in the last 10 minutes of the game. And that's something that maybe their concentration's going, maybe they're pressing too long, maybe they need to sit back and absorb pressure. And if that's the case, that kind of comes back on the Tata as a coach. And you have to be able to see, think, okay, we don't need to be going for it the full 90. Let's be responsible, play on the break, because if we absorb some pressure, there's guys that can absolutely break on them. And if you have a Josef, if you have a Tito, if you have a Miggy, a long ball over the top from a guy like LGP who absolutely has that pass in him, they can put teams away. But right now, it seems like they still want to keep pressing all the way to the end of the game, and they're throwing away points because of it.
I think there's a larger symptom there that I think there is something to unpack there, because against New England Revolution, Kevin Kratz just came on. It was, he didn't have the flow of the game with him, and so he's kind of caught deer in headlights type of thing. Very similarly in Dallas, Miles Robinson got brought on. He is all out of sorts and doesn't follow the run very well. And in this one, he's caught ball watching a little bit because he hasn't gotten to the flow of the game. I mean, I think these are all symptoms of the sub maybe coming too late, where these players aren't given the right chance to succeed. Because you need more than 5 or 2 minutes to really get into the flow of the game. We can try to say like all these players are you have to come on and be ready and just be an impact sub and always be raring and ready to go, but it's extremely tough to go into a match cold and expect to really impact the match, especially when you haven't played in a long time, especially at an MLS level. They may be getting minutes at LA United too, but it's really still very, very different. So I think those are all very, very similar patterns, and that boils down to Tata Martino, where maybe these subs need to come on a little earlier. That's always been a criticism of Tata Martino on previous teams that he's been a coach on, and it's something that he's just very averse to it for whatever reason. he just really believes in his starting 11, and then, you know, I think to a detriment, some of these guys don't actually get the run of play that they really actually need.
Yeah, I think a lot of that is it's not only like when the substitutes are coming on, because sometimes it's like, yeah, you can come on at the end of the game to kill some time, or if, you know, when you're in a certain situation, but it's like I feel like Atlanta are making the subs, but at the wrong times. Against Dallas, Miles Robinson comes on when you don't even have the ball. I mean, it's easier, especially when you're bringing on a defensive substitute, when you're trying to kill the game. If you have the ball, you can control it. You can give them a pass, you know, in a little bit of space where they're not being rushed. They can get on the ball, because when you get that touch, you get comfortable. Okay, I'm here, I'm settled, let's go. Right. But they're not getting that chance. And I mean, for a player like Romario, he hasn't played in a very long time. What do you expect from him? He's trying, but if you're not match fit or match ready or match prepared, which is not his own fault, you're not going to, you know, fit as well into that system. I mean, I think he's a player that is very much a confidence player, and is very much a player that he needs to play. If he plays, he does well. But when he doesn't play, everyone criticizes him and goes, oh, well, he's not that good. He's shown he's good. He's shown he's good. He scored goals on the international level for Jamaica. He's scored goals at Charleston Battery. He's shown he's a good player. And I saw a lot of criticism coming towards him. Why is he coming on? Josef had a little bit of a leg problem. You don't want to risk him, especially when you're winning 2-1. You think you're going to close out the game. You need a player like that to keep scoring you goals.
He also played 35 minutes in the AllStar game on Wednesday. That was 3 days prior to that match.
In my opinion, the Romario sub for Josef made sense to me. The only thing was, like, I didn't know Josef was hurt. Once I found out that he had maybe been favoring his leg, I was like, absolutely, makes complete sense. You don't need to risk that guy. You're up 2-1. Romario can give you some runs. He gives you a bit of an aerial presence. But honestly, the Romario sub, in my opinion, had nothing to do with the impact of the final score of that game.
No.
I mean, there was nothing he could have done to change what had happened. I feel bad for Miles Robinson. It's not. I don't blame him either. He was put on in a bad situation, and it was a collective loss of focus that allowed that Toronto goal to happen. And maybe you're right. Maybe he does need to bring these subs on earlier. You know, Vasquez was brought on and put into an unfamiliar midfield-like role. When you saw him come on, he didn't go up front. He didn't go up left. He didn't go right. He went into like a central role that, like, you might see like a to bang another Man United reference, like a Marwan Fellaini, like a tall person to get rid of you know aerial balls. That's what he came on. He took on a defensive role. That is not the position that he plays. That is not what you expect for him to do. How often does he actually do that? When you go into a position you've never played in a big game in a place like Mercedes-Benz, and you're in like, what do you expect?
Yeah, you're not placing them in a position to succeed, and I think that is the crux of the criticism of these patterns in those games that we drop points, where we definitely. It's frustrating for sure, and I think to also not just isolate these subs or these defensive lapses. They're not mutually exclusive, but I think the rest of the team needs to kind of really get themselves in good attacking positions to be able to put themselves in a good spot to score. Because besides Miggy. I don't see Gressel doing what he did last year, where he's in good attacking positions. I don't see Tito getting in the same spots. He's, since the injury, he's come on really, really well, and he's like created a bunch of goals. But in terms of getting himself in good spots to score, that really hasn't been there. And his scoring numbers are down a little bit. I mean, it's just he's being utilized in different positions, obviously, and he's not being used the same way. But those are two guys that scored a good bit of goals for us last year, and that's a different factor that we're missing. And so it's the symptom is we're not scoring as much as we're not being clinical, and then these defensive lapses at the end of matches are really just they're dropping us points.
Yeah, I mean it's just a frustrating thing to see. I think once players get back to fitness, I think you'll see players in different positions. I think that Tito showed that he can be really effective from the left against Montreal 2 weeks ago. I think if you put him there, I think his goal scoring numbers will go up, because it'll put him into a position where he can use that right leg at its most effective, where he's able to cut in and fire it off towards the far post, which is, you've seen the goals he can score when he cuts in from that position.
Right.
Who knows what's going to happen with Ezequiel Barco, if he ever comes back, when he comes back, whatever that situation is. I still think he does have something to offer if he can work his way back into the team and earn that trust back. I mean, there's things there that can be had. I think it's just players need the confidence to seeing the ball hit the back of the net, and I think if they can get going, if they can get that confidence, if they can get that free flowing style back, then they can succeed. And the problem is that Josie Altidore said, this is how you beat Atlanta United before the weekend. At the end of the day, he was kind of right in a sense, because they slowed Atlanta United down. If Atlanta United took their chances, they would have beaten them, without a doubt. But there was an air of truth to what he said. Yeah. United don't play slow, which is why I think they succeed at, doing so well on the road, is because teams play more open. Teams don't sit back, with the exception of Dallas, don't sit back and just camp their own box.
Right.
They attack Atlanta United, which allows them to play that open, free-flowing game that they want to play. But at home, they're just not given that option. And I think the reason that is once again, they conceded the first goal at home. And I think that is a trend that we have to look at.
Sure.
If Atlanta United score first, they are going to do something, because it forces the other team to make a decision. It forces the other team to come out and play.
Right.
And they turned that around against DC, obviously, but Toronto is a different set of operators. If you score first against Toronto, you beat Toronto, in my opinion, because then they can't waste that time. They can't use their shithousery to just do everything they can to piss you off. They have to do something. They have to actually try and play football. And if you don't do that against the good teams, if you can get that goal, I think that Atlanta United can do a lot better at home. But the problem is they're not getting that goal, and they're conceding it at bad times, and then we all leave frustrated, and then we sit here again for the 15th time it feels like the season going, why the hell couldn't Atlanta United play better at home?
Yeah, well, and to be fair, it's hard to break a bunker, and when they do sit from pretty much minute one, it is difficult to really break that down. So while you can say all you want, come out and play with urgency and really try to score first. Obviously, they are trying to score first. It's just a matter of the other teams are making it very, very difficult because of how deep they sit back. But it's something that some of the kind of dark arts and maybe the time wasting that Tata Martino was talking about. Like he said post match, maybe we do need to waste a little bit more time, like other teams do when they play us.
I think an absolutely valid point.
Yeah, really holds a lot of truth because if we did waste a little bit more time on when we do have a free kick or when we do have a goal kick, I don't think we concede that goal because I don't think they have the time to actually get into that position. So maybe it does play a factor, and so I think hopefully we. My question was, why weren't we kind of doing that to begin with anyway? Because it's something that should be part of any winning recipe. Is if you're up, you waste time. That's just how it is.
It's gamesmanship.
Yeah.
I mean, the only time Atlanta really wastes time is on substitutes. Josef will always stop, take his things off. Tito walked really slow. But you have to take that, and it sounds bad that I'm encouraging it, but it's like, if the officials are going to let it happen, use it. Just every throw in, just take your time. Every single time. Every free kick, take 5 minutes. That's how long it took at the World Cup, it felt like. I mean, whatever it is, keepers take 30 seconds every single time, and they seem to be allowed to do that. So Brad Guzan, just take forever. Just wait, and then just hoof it. I mean, there's a lot of things they can do. Again, at the end of the day, they're still in first place right now. They're still on pace to smash the point total they had from last season. I mean, they're 7 off of it right now. There's 10 games left. So it's not as much as we're frustrated and you just have this negative vibe. There is a lot to be positive about. There is 10 games left. You have a guy right now that scored more goals since 10, 11, 12 clubs since July 1st. He has 11 goals since July 1st. That's more than, I think, at least 10 teams in the league. I mean, it's insane. There's so much going for Atlanta United right now. It's really frustrating, I think, to close our talking about this match, is that it's frustrating when we see these results against teams that we feel that we should beat, that we've played better than, that it's just, you just get that sour taste just lingering afterwards. And there's been too many of those at home this year, especially with 14 points dropped at home across those games. And it's annoying because, I think that no home atmosphere is better than the one that we have at the Benz. And, we wanted to see that become that impenetrable fortress where teams come in and even if they bunker, they know they're going to lose. And if you can get that mentality, it's going to help with your team constantly. And that was... And I swear this is the last time I make a Manchester United reference. I'm sorry. The Premier League starts Friday. I'm trying to be positive about something.
Excited, but not really.
I'm excited, but also really scared and depressed. Under Sir Alex Ferguson, every team that came into Old Trafford, especially the poor teams, knew they were going to lose. They knew they were going to lose. I think Atlanta United has the fan base, the team, everything to go into making Mercedes-Benz Stadium that fortress to where if a team comes in, they can go, we can try to bunker. but we're still going to lose. And I think that's something that can happen, and I hope will happen going into the future.
Yeah, I think it's maybe we also need to be content with like a 1-0 victory at home or something.
I'll take that. It's 3 points.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's something that is not in our DNA, obviously, and we're going to try to continue to play attractive football for the full 90, it seems, and so that is a feature that maybe we'll have to try to ingrain into the mindset, and hopefully they do, because I think that is maybe a way is to just hey, we got our goal. We do what we got to do to get the 3 points. But I think there is one interesting question for just our entire season so far, as opposed to last year. I think are we missing those big moments, kind of really, really, like a late goal or a really just nice moment that really says, oh wow, that really needs to make the highlight of this season. I don't really count as many as say last year, like say when Tito Villalba, either he got a game leading goal against Orlando or a game tying goal at Bobby Dodd, or a Josef Martinez just willing our team to a 3-3 draw against Orlando. It just I count maybe like against Minnesota this year on the road, we pulled out an away win after going down a man. I think beyond that, I'm kind of stretching for it.
Yeah, which is insane when you think of the fact that, again, Josef Martinez has scored 26 goals.
Right.
And the team scored 50, and we have 10 games left. But it's like, I agree with you. And I think, on the whole, minus the Tito equalizer against Orlando, the Tito goal of the season, and then Josef, funny enough, 3 goals against Orlando, there hasn't really been that many late moments, those late winners, where it's like, I don't get that feeling sometimes. Like against Orlando in that 3-3 last year, I felt United were going to win once they hit 3-3. I was like, we're going to get another one. They're going to get another one. Come on.
Yeah.
I don't feel that right now. Right now, I have a bit more of a sense of dread when there's a few minutes remaining in the game, because it's like, I'm not sure if we're going to hold on to it. Or there's not that sense of positivity going into the match. It's like, all right, we're going to get this moment, or having faith that your team is going to score. It's just kind of been lacking this year, which is crazy. Again, when you think of the fact that they're playing better points-wise than they were last season. They're doing better, but they're just lacking that moment. But then again,
maybe
we're August.
Yeah.
Maybe that moment's going to come in an MLS Cup final. And we've complained all year, and then Josef scores a 91st minute winner to beat whoever the hell it is we're playing, and then we all go home laughing about the fact that the season itself might have been torture in a sense, but at the end of the day it paid off. So who knows? There's still a lot more season to be played, in my opinion. You still have 10 games plus the playoffs. Atlanta are going to be there, so they're at least going to have 2 games that they can finish at the top, two part of that, the top 2 of the table. So we'll see what happens. But I agree with you. I think that we haven't really had that signature moment yet this year, but maybe it's still coming.
Yeah, hopefully it is. But guys, let's move on to our news segment. And our first bit of news comes with a lot of injuries, unfortunately. So our fullback position is just dire right now. Sal Zizzo had a meniscus tear and he had surgery. Mikey Ambrose had a meniscus tear and he had surgery within pretty much the same calendar week. And so that's 2, pretty much either you can argue starting or backup fullback options. That really makes us razor thin. And so, that comes with rumors, of course, but we'll get to that in a second. But I think, you have some options maybe in-house. You have Jose Hernandez, who has been away on international duty with Venezuela, just now coming back. So, him coming into the team, you would have to make a move, I think, there. And then in terms of right back, it's not a ton. You have pretty much square pegs and round holes type of thing, and either a Gressel or either Miles Robinson, or you essentially don't, and so just
might
like
force a 3-5-2. It just might force it just because you don't have anything. You have Escobar when he gets back against Columbus from his suspension, but
that's it.
He's really it. He's your guy. He's the guy that has to play right back. So
you have guys at Atlanta United too, Sean Nicklaw and Jack Metcalf, but some moves would have to be made for that, and who knows if they're ready for that. And then also you have George Bello, the homegrown, who very exciting player. Has a hell of a left foot. When he was playing, especially with the academy, he was taking their free kicks. He was taking corners. I mean, dude has just a wand. But still a very young guy. I would say it'd be tough for him to be a starting option if somebody went down. I mean, we need depth. It's going to be very, very dire. So that rumor that comes in is former Arsenal and Man City player Bakary Sagna, who's now 35, and whether you like it or you don't like it, it is a very interesting rumor because he's the type of player that has played in systems where he will be on the ball as a right back a lot, get up very high, kind of a hallmark of a Tata Martino system. And so he won't be really unfamiliar with that, but the big question is his match fitness and the fact that he is a French international, and so he would count as a spot there. So this rumor comes from Foot Mercado, and the rumor is that he maybe is in negotiations with Atlanta United and with a year option and a option for 2. I don't know. I mean,
you're the Gooner, man. You've had him on your team before.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I don't know if he is going to be, I think at this point in time, somebody that we need. I think maybe there's somebody in around the league that knows the league and that we can bring in. Who knows?
He's played for City and Arsenal. I don't want him. That's pretty much how it is.
Sure.
The last former City right back we had, I wasn't a fan of either. Now he plays in Minnesota. So any former City player right now, I just don't. All joking aside, though, I mean, he's 35. I don't know how much he still have left in the tank. He got released / didn't get a new contract with Benevento, who were the worst side in Serie A last season.
Got relegated.
Got relegated. I mean, I don't know, man. I think that moving forward past this season, it's not really going to be an issue. I think you might look to promote from within, or you might want to go younger. He doesn't really fit the mold of a player that Atlanta need. I don't know. I'm a bit torn on it. I think it's also how much money he wants, which being an international, he's going to want a little bit more. So,
but he also comes on a free.
Yeah.
And so that ain't too bad, especially, you can bring him in at any point. I think it's not a bad option if you feel like he is, ready, match fit, and able to actually contribute something. And to be fair, he's 35, but some of our players are getting on in age as well. And but
fullback requires a bit more pace in running than usually. Definitely.
And so there is an argument for both sides on this. But moving on into we lose a big person in our front office. Former now Vice President Paul McDonough has signed with MLS Miami with Beckham and that group, and it's kind of very annoying because, well, I mean, you can say
a lot annoying.
Yeah, because he's a guy that brings a lot of the know-how of MLS and all the tam rules and how to really manipulate it and do it well, like he has, and you can see it evident in our team. Like he has his fingerprints all over it. And, he did come from Orlando before that, so yes, there is that. And so he does like to kind of hop pretty frequently. And I guess it's, if you look at it positively for the league, it's good. But for us, it's big shoes to fill. And, it's tough, man.
Yeah, I mean, but the thing is that the front office and how they've been doing things from the beginning, I trust that they'll find another candidate that will replace him, maybe not fill up to him, but they can learn from Darren Eales and fill that role. The thing that's most frustrating, but it's also a positive if you want to look at it from a league side, is that MLS Miami, because they still haven't revealed their name yet, although that's coming soon, they got a really, really good person to run their program and to figure out how to build it from the ground up. And I want there to be more solid MLS teams because that means the league is better. Right. And when the league's better, that means that there's more money in the leagues, that It's just, as a whole, the product gets better. So at least they got someone that's going to run that team and run it well. So hopefully they do succeed and become a successful franchise, because the more solid, successful top-tier franchises you have, and make no doubt, Miami is going to want to be a top-tier franchise. They're not going to want to be in Minnesota. They're not going to want to be just a small team that people forget about. It's Miami. Come on now.
They're going to be like a Galacticos.
They want to be, they're going to want to be a big team. They're going to be, in my opinion, a big rival of Atlanta. I think they're going to be the Florida team that is the big rival of Atlanta, because they've got star power. They've got charisma. They've got a city that's going to draw stars. It'll be the LA of the East. So I think that's what we're going to see a lot. And they're going to be a big rival, but I'm looking forward to those matches. And honestly, I've never been to Miami, and that might be a hell of an away day in a few years' time to make that long. It's a long trip. It's a very long trip, but that might be one hell of a
Well, no, you take a flight, and which is
it's still a long
really
trip,
easy.
though.
And you can find really easy, cheap flights there. I personally love Miami in terms of the city and what it brings.
It's better than Orlando, let's be realistic.
Anything is better than Orlando. Anything. But
I can't hate them completely because of David Beckham as well. So it's like,
sure.
I'll hate them when we're playing them, and I don't know how that rivalry developed, but there's a soft spot in my heart for David Beckham, so I can't completely hate them. Yeah. But again, I really look forward to that, dude. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, it bodes well. It promises to be very interesting. But moving on to Atlanta United 2. They just played a suspended match on Tuesday night against Ottawa Fury, and they drew 1-1. And Jose Hernandez got some minutes. He started the match, or started the makeup game, and got some minutes. So that's a good thing. And some of our guys on the bench got some good minutes as well, including Carlton, and a little bit of Kunga, a little bit of Alessandro Castro. And so those guys hopefully get on well, and they have a match on Friday against. This weekend anyway, against Charleston Battery, and so hopefully they get
Saturday the 11th.
Saturday the 11th, they get some more good minutes there and get ready in this downtime essentially for Atlanta United, and get ready for the MLS game.
Yeah.
But
moving on from that, though, we're going to take it into the one thing that was absolutely the highlight of this past week.
Yes.
And honestly, for me, it's kind of almost been a highlight of the season, because it's been that one big moment that we can all go, damn, Atlanta did everything really, really well. Yeah. And that was the MLS AllStar game. Yeah. I went to it. I had a blast. What did you think of everything, AJ?
Yeah, I think, not just the game, the whole week leading up to it, you had the block party on the Beltline, which was fantastic, with the celebrity All-Star game with Waka Flocka. And it was like this festival atmosphere that really reminded me of a Shaky Knees type of thing. It was done really, really well. And plus, I got to watch the game, in one of my favorite parks in Atlanta. Like, I really enjoyed it. It was a beautiful night, kind of chilly. It was like unlike a lot of Atlanta nights as well. Very bizarre. But,
Men in Blazers came. They did a show at the Tabernacle.
Exactly.
I listened to that podcast. It sounded incredible. Tata was there. Mm-hmm. They had a whole host of guests from Atlanta United. Waka Flocka came on. And at one point, Roger Bennett said F Orlando, which was fantastic.
Yeah, that was fun. Yeah.
So that's good time.
Miggy Joseph made
an appearance. Yeah. They said it was their best live show they've ever done. They were absolutely blown away. We just need to get them out of match and throw an Atlanta United scarf on those guys. They played Football's Coming Home when Darren Eales came on stage.
Exactly.
So they loved it. And then you had the concert itself on Monday night.
Exactly. And then of course you had our podcast-a-thon and the station soccer that we all played together.
And if you came out of that, you saw us be terrible at soccer, but thank you for coming out and playing as well. They had a phenomenal turnout for that. Big shout out to Jessica, who you've seen on the channel, who works with Soccer in the Streets. Mm-hmm. An amazing event. Hopefully we see a lot more of those in the future, because it was really, really cool. And it's awesome to see all these people coming together over soccer. Right. And I think Podcast-a-thon as a whole, getting to interact with all these other creators from the other podcasts.
Especially MLS and Extra Time Radio. And
Jason longshore from 1999 the game.
Exactly.
You talk to all these people about something that we love that's, really become something very important and central to this community, which then leads into the game itself on Wednesday, which was absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, from just a production side, I thought it was amazing. I thought all the people got a taste of what soccer was like. Obviously, it wasn't the full-on Atlanta United experience, but an MLS record crowd and a soccer crowd for Mercedes-Benz, record crowd for Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Got to see the best thing there is in Atlanta right now, and that was a Josef Martinez headed goal.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was a little bit, kind of sloppy, and he was, rolling over. But either way, he does what he does, and he just scores, just consecutively in just as many games as possible, really. But, and so, but in terms of the game itself, it was pretty competitive. Obviously, it was against, Juventus's kind of second squad, and, guys that are young and stuff like that, but I think we still brought it against them, and you saw a team that's cobbled together play against guys that have played together a good bunch, at least the start of their preseason. So a good competitive game, and we saw lots of stars show up. We saw Ric Flair. Woo! I mean, dude is a freaking legend, and glad to see him finally show up to Mercedes-Benz after promises of being there since 2017. But yeah, and so all in all, just a star-studded night, breaking records. And really showing the world.
The team played well. I mean, the thing is that I think that might have been the best all-star team that MLS has had possibly in their history, that played probably the best football of any team. Yeah. Because Tata was coaching it, and you could see the Atlanta United style in the way that the all-star team played. I mean, they pressed Juve from the get-go. The first half was much better than the second half, in my opinion.
Yeah,
I think once the subs started coming in and everything, it slowed things down. But the first half, the MLS All-Stars played really, really well. And there were some chances in there where I wish Carlos Vela would have played Miggy in for a chance to let him run those legs. But, Ezequiel Barco did get a chance, and he had a really good shot, but he hit it, unfortunately, right at Wojciech Szczesny. But they played well, and it was good to watch. And, I think that it showed the world who watched. I think it showed Juve that there's talent here. And, you have an Alphonso Davies, he's moving to Bayern Munich. I mean, there is that talent here, and I think that it's stepping up from that old retirement league. There was a lot of young players who have high upside, high potential, and they haven't even hit their peak yet. Yeah. And I think something else that I tweeted after the game that really can't be understated is the fact that a lot of those MLS players were blown away by the reception they got here in Atlanta. They're going to remember that atmosphere, and they're not used to that atmosphere supporting them. They're probably used to it being at them. And obviously, you have, why am I dropping his name all of a sudden? Zach Steffen.
Sure.
We all know him. He enjoyed the fact that that crowd was behind him. Yeah. Those players remember that. And if they have the chance to join Atlanta United, they're going to think about the fact that they're not going to get this experience anywhere else. They're not going to get that support anywhere else. And I can absolutely say there's a few players on that team that if we ever got the chance to sign them, I would 100% take them. Looking at Valeri, looking at Piatti, looking at Zach Steffen, to be honest. I mean, there's players out there that if the league ever kind of started getting a bit more financially loose when it comes to teams that have money being able to spend and teams that don't, I think Atlanta United are definitely going to be able to get a few of those guys, because I think that the city of Atlanta has just showed what soccer means to this community in a place where everyone said it would fail, everyone said it wouldn't work. This isn't a soccer town. I think we showed us a soccer town. We broke another record, like you said. And again, I don't think that there's anything the MLS can complain about. This was the right place to have a team, and Atlanta United and the city, we should all be proud of what we've done, because that was a hell of an event we put on, and everyone from the people who put on the productions in Old Fourth Ward Park to the people who did everything at the stadium, well done. Give yourself a pat on the back. It was phenomenal, and I absolutely loved it, and I hope it comes back soon.
Yeah, definitely. And, even Juventus's coach, Maximiliano Allegri, he was, lauding Atlanta and the All-Star game and the way it was set up. He said, "I was very pleasantly surprised for the entire climate and the entire impression that we got from Atlanta. There was so much enthusiasm. This speaks well for the future of the sport in the United States." And so, I completely agree with Allegri. Yeah, I mean, it's something that, unfortunately will take a dip next year because it's going to Orlando City's stadium, and,
about 50,000 less people. But to go on from that, one more cool thing that, for us being people who were at the game itself, we didn't get to see unless we were able to see a replay. One of the cool little features that ESPN borrowed from the MLB AllStar game that I don't think has ever happened in soccer before, they had Brad Uzan mic'd up during the game.
Yeah.
He is talking to the commentators during the game while it's happening. At one point, he starts yelling at his vendors like, hey, get organized and whatever, while he's talking during the live broadcast. I thought it was really, really cool. Some people hated it. Some people loved it. I thought it was really cool. Obviously, you're only going to do that in an all-star game situation where it doesn't matter. Yeah. You're never going to do that in a real match. Yeah. But I thought it was pretty cool to get that perspective on things. And, you know, Brad had a lot of really cool things to say and really complimentary things about Atlanta, about Tata, about United and everything. And I think it was awesome to see him, you know, mic'd up. And I thought it was just a neat little feature that ESPN did.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, he was talking about definitely how he was a little bit hesitant to do it to begin with, but they had to really convince him. And I think, it was a great feature that really got, you know, some good insight in between the lines during the game, and that's really, really cool. Although, you know, I do question if maybe that affected the goal that was he conceded. But
I don't think it was his fault.
You know, it is what it is. But yeah, so, you know, moving on from that, you know, this All-Star game was, you know, on TV. It averaged 0.4 metered market rating up to 33%. YOY compared to last season's English language TV.
At 33% English over last year. I mean, that tells you something. I mean, that's a big jump. I mean, in 1 year, and it was in Chicago last year. You had good players again, but I mean, a 33% increase in people watching it. I think that not only was just people here, because Atlanta was a top-rated local market with a 2.3. I mean, people watched that game. Obviously, it's not like your numbers you're going to get for other sports, for other All-Star games, but it's again growing. I think that's the biggest thing we can say is the sport is growing. It's healthy. It's going in the right direction. I think that's something that you really can't speak enough of, is the fact that it is growing. It's going in the right direction. And like you said, Allegri saw it. Juventus saw it. The league as a whole, you know, it all goes together to help the sport grow in the United States, which at the end of the day is what I want to see, right up next to Atlanta United winning a Supporters Shield and a MLS Cup, which takes us nice and easy into the standings, which had a very, very interesting weekend this past weekend, although LAFC couldn't do their job like we wanted them to do.
Jeez.
But
one thing to do, man.
Things are very, very, very tight right now at the top of the Eastern Conference. Currently, New York City FC cannot go ahead of Atlanta United because of their results, thankfully. However, the other team in New York, Red Bull, can go ahead of Atlanta United if they win their games in hand. With Atlanta United having an off week this week, we will start seeing how that plays out. But taking it into a broader picture on the Supporters Shield, there's a team that, honestly, we haven't talked about, that we haven't really looked at, that is very sneaky, could go ahead of Atlanta United and could go 1 point behind Red Bull if they win their games, and that is Portland Timbers. For some reason, mostly because MLS is terrible at scheduling games, Portland Timbers have only played 20 matches. Atlanta United have played 24. Portland Timbers, if they win their matches, will go to 49 points, which will put them 1 point ahead of Atlanta United if they play all those games in hand and win them. And right now, they're playing pretty well. It might not be the prettiest football, very similar to, say, an Atletico Madrid, but they have talent. They have Valeri. Yeah, they're a solid team. They have a great fan base. They know what they're doing. They're canny. They've won an MLS Cup in the past few years.
They have that experience.
They have that experience. They're a team you have to watch out for. And I think what's interesting is this might be one of the most interesting, if not the most interesting, Supporters Shield race this league has seen, because you have the 3 teams in the East, and you have Dallas and Portland in the West. You also have an LAFC team and a Galaxy team that are both surging and playing well. LAFC just keeps adding attackers because they just feel that we're just going to score more goals than everyone else, which I can respect that. But then you have a Galaxy team that, you know, with Zlatan Ibrahimovic, when he plays, is scoring a goal a game at least. I mean, you're going to have, I don't think they're going to end up challenging for the Shield, but I think you're going to have a 4 to 5 team race for that Supporters Shield come into the season, which is good for the league because you have a title race for that. Unfortunately, it means that, you know, things can get confusing when it comes to the playoffs, but we'll see how it's going. But currently, Atlanta United are still top, but that's, you know, we'll see a lot of that change. And honestly, I'm glad we're going to get this bye week because we'll finally kind of figure out where we are with these other teams when they start playing those games and catching up to Atlanta United in terms of matches played.
Yeah, and you know, it's going to be you know, really telling, I think, for the rest of the season and you know, our place obviously, but I think it's something that you know, I think this needed to happen sooner or later because, you know, we've been talking about how, you know, the games in hand could really affect all of this. And yeah, I mean, we can talk about all that until we're blue in the face, but these games need to be played. Until then we can actually see how it actually plays out. So, but guys, we're gonna move on to our mailbag questions that you guys sent in on Instagram, and just keep sending those questions in. We really appreciate it. And here we go. Our first one comes from Anthony Sibley. He asks, why do we have such success on the road yet have struggled to win at home lately? I think we've kind of talked about it a good bit, but I think to boil it down is that teams really bunker us at home, and we really struggle to break them down because they essentially do it from minute one. And on the road, we have that, where everybody we play against, essentially, they have that need to, play in front of their fans and, play at least a little bit more attractive and not just bunker the entire time. So, with that, we get to play out a little bit more, and more often than not, I think we've scored first, and that really just opens up the entire match, and that's I think that's what it boils down to.
Yeah, I'd agree with you. I mean, the only team really this year that's actually bunkered and played on the counter the whole match is Dallas, and that's just their identity. That's how they play against everyone wherever they go, which is why they're at the most disadvantage when it comes to the standings, is because they have a goal difference of +8.
Yeah.
Everyone else has a goal difference of around 20 or so. So they're not really going to be a team they'll be there on the points, but the goal difference might be their issue. But yeah, it's pretty much just what you said. Teams are they feel obliged to do something in front of their home fans. They open up, and Atlanta United love that space. It allows them to play that quick attacking game that they love to play. And like you said, more often than not, they get that first goal, and then those teams at home get desperate and try to do it and open up even more, and Atlanta United get more goals. And I think that's one of the biggest highlights of this season that we have to be positive about, we have to praise, is the fact that their road form, they being Atlanta United, has improved so much, so drastically. They're the best road team in the league. They're going for the record for road points in the season. And that's something that's, you don't really see a lot of in MLS. It's hard to go on the road, and this team's playing really well, and right now it just suits them playing on the road more than playing at home.
Yeah, agreed. Moving on, next question comes from that boy Jacoby. He asks, should José Altidore be suspended for putting his hands around Almiron's neck?
I think José Altidore should have been suspended for a multitude of things, most of them just being a dickhead. But I thought that if the ref saw that, it's hard to say that he should be suspended because he did do it, and in a free scrum it looks really bad, but it was very brief. I think that it could have been a second yellow if the ref had seen it, if he had given him a yellow to begin with for when he took out McCann, which was a foul and should have been a card, and depending on the angle, could have been a red itself.
Yep.
I just think Josie's a dirty player. I think he knows that. I think he relishes that. I don't think he's going to get suspended for it. On its own, it looks bad in a freeze frame, but I don't think it's nearly as bad as what you saw happen to LGP, which was definitely a red, and obviously that guy's going to see a little bit more than one game, I think.
I think so. Next question comes from Chris Lombardi, 99. How do you feel Miggy's performance recently will affect his stock in Europe?
Ooh.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, his performance, I mean, yes, you have, his goals and assist pace is better than last year. He had 9 and 14 assists, I believe, and so this year he's on 8 and 11, and so, it's much better pace, of course, but I think what you have to look at markedly is like if you. Not that we should compare them, but you look at a Josef Martinez who is breaking records left and right. A person that I don't think he's going to go to Europe, but would he deserve a move to Europe? Yes, absolutely. But but that's because on the back of breaking a lot of records, going on a prolific scoring pace, I think it's something that I think people recognize the talent that he has, but I think if he continues to kind of flounder in front of goal. He's not going to get the move that he wants, nor maybe play the position that he wants, which is the 10. He'll probably be moved a little further back, maybe as a number 8, a box-to-box, or to the wing, and which I don't think really suits what he really wants a move out of. So
yeah, I agree with you. I mean, for him, it's unfortunate that the week he talks about wanting to play in Europe in 2019, he has 2 opportunities to show why he could be that player. And he doesn't take either one of them. I thought on the whole he was okay. He wasn't great. Borderline meh against Toronto. I mean, he has to take those chances if he wants to be that player. I mean, at the end of the day, that's all you can say is you have to take at least one of those chances if you want to be one of those players that's seen as a game changer and you want to move to Europe. He could have been a game changer on Saturday. He wasn't. And I think that's been a problem for him this year is maybe he's been frustrated. Maybe he's felt the pressure to perform. He's been off target on a lot of his shots, especially from distance. Titos shown his frustrations with that on the sideline over the season. I mean, I think right now he's struggling for confidence. He's pressing a bit, and I think he just needs to see the ball hit the back of the net in some open play, and I think he'll get his confidence going. And he's one of those players that if he can get going and he can get his confidence and get to scoring goals, that just gives you another dimension. And, it's all these things where you keep saying, can these guys do this? Can these guys do this? If they can, then Atlanta becomes that team we know they can be. Right now you have Josef doing what Josef does. If you can get players to build off that and, be able to take chances themselves, that's only going to make Josef better. It's only going to make the team better. So for Miggy, I think he's still got a little bit to do. I think he's got a little bit more he needs to improve on before he gets that move, because when he does move, I want him to get the right move. And that's something that Darren Eales has talked about. He wants it to be the right move for the player, for the team, for everyone. And if he doesn't improve some of his performances, then he might not get the move that we all want for him to get. So we'll see, but there's still game time left this season. There's still a chance for him to shut us all up, shut me up, and say, look, I've got this, and goes out and starts scoring goals and getting these really great assists, and I'd love to see him do that. But we'll see. But recently, to go back to your question, I don't think he's performed at the level that he needs to be in order to get that move.
Yeah. And moving on, next question comes from Ashley Meyer 9. What did you think of Jeff Lorenowitz in the back? It definitely was a surprise, and I even went on an IG Live for my reaction to that, because I was just pretty much flabbergasted that he would be put back there again, because we've seen him be played in the back in the middle of a back three. It's
not his most comfortable position.
Yeah, exactly. And so but I think he did markedly better than he did in the early on this year. But I think in terms of him playing in the back as a right-sided center back, I mean, in this one match and this small sample size, I think it was okay. I mean,
I think he's at fault for the first goal, to be perfectly honest with you.
A lot of ball watching,
which honestly might be the only criticism that you could have of Jeff Lorenowitz is when he gets inside the 6-yard box or inside the 18. Sometimes he gets caught ball watching. I mean, everyone has a weakness.
Sure.
That just might be his. Yeah. Everything else, I thought he was actually really impressive for a position. I was nervous when I saw him listed there. I was like, uh-oh, this might not be what I want to see. But on the whole, I thought he acquitted himself relatively well. Unfortunately, a couple mental lapses, and then you have 2 goals go in. So it's not something I'd like to see continuing in the future. If we have to do that, it happens. But if they had to play a back 3, I'd rather see Franco Escobar in that right center back role and Jeff move back into midfield.
Yeah, no, I agree. Next question comes from Nick Lanfear. He asks, if we can lift one trophy this season, which would you choose? Cup or Shield? He says, I would go Shield. That's a tough call. Obviously, I mean, in this league, it's a little bit different. In a lot of the other leagues, you play the entire season, and that's the league. And if you're on top of the table, then you're king of that league like that. But it's much different here. We have playoffs. We have more of the importance be put on MLS Cup. And so, I mean, for me, I think it's MLS Cup, because I mean, if we're gonna have a parade, I think it's for winning MLS Cup, not Supporter Shield.
Yeah, I'd agree with you. I'd say MLS Cup myself. I mean, I think right now, if you asked any New York Red Bull fan what they want, would they rather have an MLS Cup or trade in all the Supporter Shields that they've won for an MLS Cup? They'd probably trade them all in for an MLS Cup. I mean, because at the end of the day, Supporter Shields are nice, but it doesn't mean as much in this league, which is kind of weird to say. I would rather finish 6th and win an MLS Cup than win a Supporter Shield. I mean, that might sound really weird to you, but if you win MLS Cup, you are the champions of the whole league. You are the de facto winners. I like to win both, but if I'd only win one, I'd take the cup.
Next and last question comes from Sadiq Padilla 21. He asks, should we be worried about playing playoff games at home?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. At this moment in time, in our home form, especially with our glowing road form, yes, absolutely, we should be worried about playing at home, because I mean, I think we'd all kind of relish a game away in the playoffs at this point. But I think there is solace in that there are more games coming up, and hopefully they can rectify any of the issues that they've had so far. Hopefully, unfortunately, I don't want this like muscle memory that they may have of preceding these matches and them perpetuating the bad home form. So I think yes, we should be worried.
Yeah, absolutely. And guys, we're going to move on to that segment of the week that I enjoy sometimes. Actually, I enjoy it all the time. Mostly, I'm just complaining about something. I've kind of already ranted about it, but it's Waste Men of the Week time. And actually, this week, it's Waste Men of the Week because it goes to the entire team of Toronto FC because I hate you. Somehow, I didn't think it'd be possible for Toronto to jump all the way up my shit list to de facto rival number 1. After that game, I despise Toronto. Everything about what they did in that game pissed me off. The shithousery levels were over 9,000. It was more than any other team I've ever seen. They showed up for the second half with like 7 guys, and then we had to wait for 3 or 4 minutes before Josie Altidore stupid ass decided to finally show up on the field. Then he runs around fouling our players the whole time, getting away with it, calling our guys words I'm not going to repeat, and then acting like it's cash. I don't like you either. I hope you never play again for the U.S. men's national team, and if you do, I hope you miss every chance and we still win because Christian Pulisic is better than you will ever be, and he's still a teenager. Also, to the dickhead that got the red card, what are you doing? Really, the ref is literally between you and the guy, and you still think, I have a great idea, I'm gonna punch a player in the face. Why? I mean, the time wasting, the only player that I can absolutely say I don't hate is their goalkeeper because he played well. But he also wasted a shit ton of time every single time, and the ref let him do it. I kind of want to throw the ref in there, but I'm focusing more on Toronto because I've hated on the refs before. We know they suck. It's MLS. It is what it is. Toronto, what the hell? I mean, Seattle, I got why they did that. It made sense. You have players who are good. You have 3 players, Toronto, that make more than the entire team of Atlanta United. 3 players, Javinko, Bradley, and again, that dickhead Altidore. Seriously? You're going to play like that? You're the holders of the MLS Cup and the Shield. Why would you do that? Are you seriously that scared of Atlanta United that you have to bunker, get 2 shots on target, get lucky on both of them to go in? I mean, please, I beg that we play them again when Atlanta are playing well. Try that strategy again when people can actually take their chances because you're going to absolutely get blown out of the water. Absolute disgrace. Absolute disgrace. And if I was a Toronto fan, I would be devastated having to watch bullshit soccer like that on Saturday. So Toronto, you're my wasteman of the week. Piss off. I can't wait till we play you again. I want to beat you. You are now the team I hate more than any other team in MLS, which funny enough gives me a great segue into the question that we have for you this week. And that question is, what team do you hate the most in MLS? I think I've made myself very, very clear. I hate Orlando fans. I no longer hate DC because we've kind of killed that cow and we've kind of moved past that. But Toronto, I hate you. Get down in the comments below and let us know what you think because we have a lot of rivalries. For me, it's Toronto, mostly because of the players. I hate them. I want to beat them. Yeah.
All right, guys, on that note, that's it for us today. Remember to subscribe if you haven't. Share this video because it really does help us a lot. Smash that like button. And for Tanner McLeod, I'm AJ. Thank you guys so much for watching.